Welcome, everybody. Well, I am thrilled this morning because you know what? Things never stay the same, do they? I mean, isn't that, and we're going to be talking about that with time. The only reason we think time is because things are changing all the time, so we think we're in time. And there's somebody I've admired for a very long time, and he's spoken here many times before, but he had kind of a lull in what he was doing, so we went and talked, and I thought maybe he would join me. So we would have some, some more different input into how we're looking at things. And I know that Miles Ballot has been on a journey for many, many years. I've done classes with him. I've listened to him speak. I know he knows the Seth material so well. And not only knows it, but lives that Seth material. So we are going to kind of team up and come back and forth. He'll be talking, I'll be speaking. And I think it's just another one of the changes that we want here. That's not about one person only. But that's why I want you to come in and share some of your talents. So this morning, Miles and I had a meeting this week, and we said, what is he going to talk about? We're going to kind of share. I'll just come in at the end and just add a little bit. Hope it's not overlapping, and I know it won't be because everything always flows. So I would just want to welcome onto YouTube. He's going to be on our YouTube channel from now on, and into New Beginning Ministry, Miles Ballot.
Well, it's delightful to be here. It's delightful to be back.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. And I love you too. So today I'm going to be talking about time. I've never been gentle. And today's not. So the point of what we're doing is our expansion into oneness, our expansion into love, our expansion into who we are. And up till now, time has served us well, but it stopped serving the purpose that we need to take the next step. And the reason is simple. When we believe in time, we believe in cause and effect. And there's a huge problem with that. The things that we get in our reality come directly as a result of our beliefs and not through any physical thing we do. So the concept of time that we use to build our life on has served us well up to this point. But from this point forward, as our energy rises, we're going to open up and embrace our multidimensionality. Now, one of the things that's part and parcel of the success in third density, our physical world, is the fact that we think and we're logical and we're linear. We'll call that the official line of consciousness. But as we open up to our eternalness, open up to our Akash, the many lives that we've lived both in this reality and since the beginning, whenever the beginning was, we were there, we were part of all that is. As we move forward, it's important to be able to connect with the deep of who we are. So the pathway there is in stillness. When you think, we're almost always thinking logically. That's an old traditional approach to our lives and to this world. The new approach is to take a breath, relax, be still, and know that you are, I am. And what that does for us in that stillness, in that quiet, is we get to open up to the multidimensionality of who we are at the level of our soul. So when we create an intention in our mind, it goes out to the universe, who wants to fulfill it even more than we want it. So let's just take a short diversion here. Everything in this reality is an illusion. We are a picture of the energy that we are in non-physical reality. Everything is a picture of the energy, the eternal energy that we are in non-physical reality. And that picture is created countless times a second. Well, I know you're dying to know how many times a second it's created. 60 billion, trillion times a second. That's Planck's constant from quantum mechanics. And every one of those instants, the world is created completely new from the 0 point. In other words, every instant we have a clean slate to create how we're going to be the next instant. And that's determined, that creation in the next instant is determined by our feelings. It's determined by our vibration, which is determined by our beliefs. It's not determined by the things we do. We get money from work because we believe it. We get everything in our life because we believe it. Now, the problem with this old model is that we think that what's in physical reality is the truth. But the truth is this: what you believe is what creates your reality vibrationally according to law of attraction. So, if you have a belief that people are bad, the universe will send you an endless stream of confirmation that there are bad people in the world. When you believe that you're unsafe, the universe is going to send you an endless stream into your life that you're unsafe. So, now is the time that we have to assume the mantle of our I amness, our all that isness, and drive a stake in the ground and say, no, no, no. I believe that people are good. I believe that the world is good. And as we drive that stake in the ground, and when we start to wobble during our day, we reaffirm, no, no, I don't understand what's happening right now, but I know that people are good. I know the world is good. And pretty soon, it's going to be an endless stream of wonderful people, wonderful experiences showing up in your life. And it's determined by your mental ability to hold your focus. So, what you want to do is make a grid of the beliefs that you have that are powerful, put them on a 3x5 card, put them in your pocket, and then when you start to wobble during the day, get out your list and read it, and you can tell when you're in alignment with that list, because at some point, as you read it with feeling, the universe is going to deliver something else for the list that's a positive reinforcement for where you want to go. Now, in this world is far, far more spectacular than we could ever begin to imagine. Oh, it would have been nice if I turned on my tape recorder.
Oh, we got that video.
Yeah.
We have the video.
Thank goodness we have the video, right.
Start it over.
Yeah. Start it over. Exactly. Right. So, what we have here in Mother Earth, in Gaia, is a matrix, far more spectacular than we can grasp. As Nana has pointed out to us, on this matrix, we all have our lives, and our lives are in a bubble. There's no overlap in our bubbles. So that I have a lectern here, and for each one of you that sees this, you have your own physical lectern as well. Now, the way it works is fairly straightforward. Every last thing in your life is here for you. Every molecule, every atom of this physical reality is unique to you and here for you. And it's in your life because it loves you unconditionally and has agreed to be here and has agreed to follow your script. So what do you know about the people around you? You know that they're all that is. You know that they're God. We just forget that they're infinite. Just like we forget that we're all that is and that we're infinite as well. So they're in their own bubble, but they're in ours as well. And it's very easy for them, instant by instant, 60 billion, trillion times a second, to put a picture in our reality that we then give meaning to. Every last thing in your life is reflecting you back to you. Every last thing in your life is a message, is its symbol, and it's talking to you. So your reality is talking to you. And every part of it wants what you want even more than you want it. So the question is, can you be still and open up and start to get a sense of who you are so that the universe can start to deliver the things you want? Now, it's never going to stop trying to deliver what you want despite what your beliefs are. But there's only ever one thing blocking what you want. And it has nothing to do with physical reality whatsoever. It's your beliefs. Maybe it's your beliefs about that person that's giving you a hard time, or about something in the local community, or about your job. So, when you're looking at your life, take a look at how you feel. The feelings that you have about other people when they feel good tell you that you're in alignment. The feelings that you have about your life when they feel good, they tell you that you're in alignment. Take a breath, relax, and really enjoy that. But when you don't feel good, you need to take a look at that feeling, because that's the rumble strip that's telling you you're going off the road. And take a look at yourself. Are you afraid to express yourself? Are you afraid to be who you are? Because if you are, you're on the rumble strip. And it's telling you, you need to take a look at what you believe about yourself and your reality so that you can make an adjustment and get back in alignment and flow your energy. Now, when you feel bad, it's the gift. Now, we get an endless stream of gifts, don't we? And we're getting even more gifts now that the energy is rising, because what's inside of us is getting projected out. And the more you're with people that you love, so that you feel safe, well then the more that's what's inside of you feels safe to come out and deliver that really big gift to you. And in the moment of feeling bad, that's when you want to capture it, so that later you can sit down, or even in the moment, and say, what belief would I have to have in order to feel this way? It's not secret. It'll hit you between the eyes with a 2x4. And then you have a starting point. Now, I always like to pick on people because they're usually our biggest gifts, aren't they? And there's an exercise that you can do. And it's simple, but it's really quite profound. The problem with people is, and we so want them to be wrong and not us. We so want them to be the problem and not us to be the problem. And it's really disappointing that it's never ever that way. Never, ever, ever that way. It always comes back to here because we're the creators. So this is the process. Make a list of the good things about it. Only put things on that list that are absolute, that you don't waffle about. Like, they're nice in the morning after they get their coffee. No, no, no. They're nice in the morning. Oh, yeah. And make that list. Make it to, 15 or 20 items, and the idea is to be feeling it. Put down as many as you can. If you can't get that far because of who they are. And then when you're going to see them, get your list out and read it with feeling. You need to read it with feeling. Now what you're doing is you're creating a space in your mind for them to show up differently. And I absolutely guarantee they will. It will take your breath away. Now, if you don't wobble afterwards, they'll actually stay that way. If you do wobble afterwards, it's easy to fall in that old vibration, that old feeling, that old path, those old beliefs about what their problem is. But let's go a step further. Because there's a message in there. And what's the message for us that's being reflected back to us? And it goes something like this. Take a look at your life and where something similar is in your life. A similar situation, a similar feeling. But look, because once you discover that, then you're at the place where you can heal yourself and make yourself whole. Because once you discover that, you'll discover the limiting belief that's running your life, that's getting projected out in front of you so that you can deal with it as the biggest gift the universe can deliver to you at any given moment. Back to time. The biggest problem we have is cause and effect. So we say, well, they were that way in the past. They've been that way for 20 years. I know what they're like. And really, the only thing that matters in our reality is relationships. The rest of it's just stuff. You can't drive a Cadillac into heaven, right? So, we're talking about how we're going to relate to other people. And when we get stuck on what is, instead of creating the space in our mind for them to show up differently, and what are we doing when we do that? We're giving ourselves the biggest gift we can. Why? Because we want to have a joyous life, and joyous life comes from joyous relationships and wonderful people. People that are growing and growing into themselves and having successes that we like to be with and be around. So, the old official line of consciousness will no longer work with cause and effect. But when you set a clear intention that you want to feel good, you make your list, then you're going to take a big step forward in whatever it is you're trying to deal with in your life. Now, a couple more things I'd like to go over. A couple more powerful techniques. And the first one is a daily practice. Not 5 things that you love about yourself every day, but 5 things about you that are awesome. Awesome. You got to raise the bar here. Write 5 things every day, new and different things. And after, I don't know, 6 months or so, you're going to go, well, there's nothing else new. In fact, unfortunately, some people have a problem coming up with the first thing, much less the 180th thing. But start paying attention as you go through your day and say, wow, I really did that awesome. Now, what's the point of this? you can only give what you've got to give. So if it's not in you, you can't give it to somebody else. If you don't have love in your heart, how are you going to give somebody else love? So, this is a practice, and when you start connecting to this, you will be amazed at how your eyes open, and you will start seeing the awesomeness of other people as well. Now, the other practice is start practicing stillness. Start practicing being quiet, not thinking, and letting the universe deliver the life that you want through your intentions. Now, I'm going to go back to time here for a second, because there are other cultures that have different views of time. And even our culture. So the 5 most used nouns in our culture are time, person, year, way, and day. 5. And you'll notice that 3 of those are specifically and directly about time. And some neuroscientists say that space, or way, is also connected to our visualization and ability to process the concept of time. And what they say is that time so permeates our culture, it takes about 30% of our mental energy to construct the world we live in is time. Now, other cultures have slightly different perspectives. So one I want to share with you is a culture in New Guinea. And for them, the past is downhill. So for us, we think the past is in front of us, in the future. But they think the past is downhill and the future is uphill. And why do they think that? Well, we know the past. It's really easy to go back into the past. But when we're going to go into the future, we're going to create that future, and we're going to be going, in essence, uphill. In other words, it's a creative process instead of a slippery slide down the slope of the past. Another model is that the future is behind us, and the past is in front of us. Complete contradiction to the way we believe it. This is a South American tribe. And the reason they believe that is similar, because it's easy to walk into the past, to live your life out of the past, rather than live your life in the future, which you can't see and therefore is behind you. So think about how you're living your life, and think about ways that you can give up your old concepts of time. And one of the ones I want to share with you has to do with aging. So we age because we don't keep up with our expansion. That's the only reason. You would never die if you kept up with your expansion. If you kept up with the gifts that the universe is constantly delivering to you that are opportunities for expansion. And that expansion is always an expansion of your belief system. And it's always going to the same place. It's going to love. So, you have, we know about our consciousness, we know about our ego, but what some people aren't so aware of is their body has its own consciousness. Now, the body consciousness is not connected to physical reality. It's connected to 2 things. It's connected to your soul, your spirit, your all that isness, and it's connected to your mind. So what you tell it is sacrosanct. It's the only information it's getting. In other words, what you think is giving your body a message. So, When you get up in the morning or sometime during your day, you can start talking to your body. Say, conference call, I'm talking to all the cells in my body. And then start talking about what you want, what you would like from your body. And I think this aging process is baloney, so let's slow it way down. I'll age 1 day for every 3. Or if you're really courageous, I want to get 1 day younger every day from now on. So your ability to be still and connect with your all that isness creates a sense of safety and trust. And that gives your body an ability to be its best, to operate in an environment where it doesn't feel threatened. How often do you feel threatened in your life or in your day? Do you feel threatened by the food you eat? By the foods that are out there? Do you feel threatened by other people? Do you feel threatened by outside circumstances? Because if you do, and you internalize that, and you focus on that, and you think about it, you are actually impeding your body's ability to be the perfection that it is. Because your body is directly connected to your all that isness. So, your soul. So, if you're able to be still and open up, your body can give you endless resources, information about how to live your life. Some people use pendulums, some people use a sway test, some people have other ways that they communicate with their body, but it has its own consciousness, it has its own genius, it has its own wisdom, and it's there available and waiting for you. Think about the environment that you're creating for your body to live in through your thoughts. And with that, I'm going to end it and open it up for Mary Lou, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Well, I'm going to take a little. You know, I was taking a little different approach, but I was thinking about how we, and you've said this before, one of the things about time is, because things are constantly changing, we think time is real. And another thing you said today that is so true, it says everything in the invisible realm, the physical realm, is really a picture of the visible realm. The Bible tells us that itself, that through looking at the physical, we can understand the power in the invisible realm. So everything is teaching us. But one of the things I read is it's like this one scientist is calling all of these things that we're in the now. And just like Eckhart Tolle, that everything is a now moment, that there isn't cause and effect, but it's a now moment. And so it's like pages of a novel. All those pages are on the floor simultaneously, and we in every moment can pick up the page that we want. We put them in some kind of order in our lives. But the truth of the matter is, in every moment you are picking a page that's already down there, and that it's complete, because every moment is totally complete in our lives. And that's really where we're going with wholeness, is to understand that every moment is really complete. But what I was thinking about is how illusionary time is. And so what I looked up was some stories of how people stepped out of time. And I've told you my story. If you haven't heard it 10 times, I'm going to tell it to you again. Good morning. But probably when we opened up the other center, I went over to Staples to get, we needed some copy paper, and I was with somebody else. So as we walk into the store, there's a sign in that says copy paper, 2 cents. So I picked it up with my hands, and I thought, 2 cents? But we were going to the back of the store for something, so I told the gal I was with, I said, let's not carry it, let's leave it here, and when we come back, we'll pick up the copy paper. So we come back, and I look, and it said copy paper $3.95, and I thought, well, maybe the booth was down this way more. So I went down that way to see if I could find the display. Couldn't find anything for 2 cents in the store.
Wow.
So I went to the cash register, and I said, let me just ask you a question. Did somebody just change that sign up there? Because when I came in, I saw a 2-cent copy paper. She said, not that I know of. So anyway, I said to my friend, was I crazy or did I see a 2-cent sign? And she said, no, we saw a 2-cent sign. I picked up the paper. You know, you picked up the paper. I thought, what's going on here? So I go over to the other cashier if I'm checking out with my $3.95 paper, and I said, was there ever a sign up there in this store that said 2-cent copy paper? And she said, yes, it was here, but they took it down before the store opened this morning. So what happened?
You were out of time.
I went through a wormhole or something and I stepped out of time. And you know, I was looking up all kinds of stories about a lady, and this one gal was talking about her mother that had these strange experiences, like she was on a double-decker bus in London, and all of a sudden it was like something happened, and she looked out and she was on a wagon and she was seeing people in Victorian clothes, and she tried to talk to the lady beside her, but the lady acted like she didn't even see her, and click, she was back in to New York City in the double bus. So there is so many stories. So I was just thinking, does anybody here have a story that they have like stepped out of time or had that experience? Let me tell you one more story I read. It's coming to mind now. There was a fella, and he was in probably World War II, and he was sent to this base that was, or maybe before World War II, I don't know, but he was an Army pilot, and he was sent to a base because it was all dilapidated, and he was supposed to take, you know, notes and everything. So he goes to the base and he takes all of these notes, how the hangars dilapidated, and he sees these 3 yellow planes on the runway, and he said, I couldn't identify them. And you have to remember, this guy was a pilot and knew all the latest things. So anyway, he gets in his plane to take off, and it's raining and storming. So he goes a little distance and he has to come back. So when he comes back, it's like the sun begins to shine, and he sees that the whole airfield is buzzing with people and these guys in blue jumpsuits, and he sees these 3 yellow planes that he couldn't identify. So anyway, as he comes back, so 4 years later, and so immediately he takes off and he's back in his own realm. 4 years later he goes there, and when he goes there 4 years later, there's the yellow plane, and there's the men in the jumpsuit. But he knew what the plane was, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but he said, that's that. But it was created 3 years after he had been to the airfield before. So you see, we're seeing things in lives that time is an illusion, it's a wormhole. You know, there are certain places on the planet they talked about that, you know, those wormholes, and that we can create those wormholes. You know, I wasn't creating that, wasn't even thinking of that when I walked into Staples. But I know many of us have driven somewhere and know we were late, and then it's like time has stopped and we've gotten there in time. But I think what Miles is talking about right now is so true. We are interdimensional beings. And when we talk about these things, and when we hear these things that have happened to people, we begin to see that really that's what we're here for. And I think the veil is so thin between those dimensions right now. It talks about that in the Bible too, about the veils being rent, and that we're going to be able to see between those veils. You know, everybody that has ever been with us is right here this morning. You know, all of the airwaves of the televisions and the radios are right here with us this morning. It's just that we see such a small dimension of what's going on right now. But I think as we stretch, and I think that's why we come here, first of all, to remind each other we're not crazy, you know, and second, that we can stretch our paradigms to begin seeing and begin, you know, expecting things like that in our life. So I just want to open up this morning. Has anybody ever kind of had a time warp or a wormhole that they've walked through that they know that time has? Larry, let me get the microphone and come here and just tell us what happened. I think this is for people all over, you know, to know that this is common.
So back in, I think it was 2009, I was on my way, I was meeting another person, and we were going out to Palm Springs for a couple of weeks, and some seminars and things, and it was really kind of a magical time. And so I think that what triggered this whole thing was our vibration and our expectancy of what was going to be happening. And long story short, as far as the time part, it happened right at the very beginning. And we had a flight, I believe it was like around 8:15. This was on a Tuesday morning. Well, my friend gets to my house late. So we're like, we are never going to make our flight. we left probably about 20 minutes later than we should have. And so anyway, we just started driving, and we never had a red light or any kind of traffic or anything. It was like we were the only ones on the road. This was like 8:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. We went from Holiday to Tampa.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we literally just sailed down there. But where the time warp comes in, we got there, we got to check in, we got our luggage, we did all that stuff. And when we got to the gate, we were half an hour early. We had to sit there for half an hour and wait to board.
Wow.
So, and then, you know, I could tell they're just magical stories of the next 14 days of just one thing after another, after another, after another. It was a setup for just an incredible chain of events for the next 2 weeks. So,
Yeah, that is incredible. And you know, deja vu is part of it. You know, I was just looking at another story I had where this fellow was sitting, he said, I was just sitting on a bed. There's sites that people, you know, share their stories. He said, I was sitting on a bed and my wife was talking. And my son came in the room, talked to my wife, and then went out. And the moment he went out, he came back in again and the whole thing replayed. You know, so there's a wormhole there. Things happen like that. How many of you had deja vu? Or smell something? You know, you can smell somebody. Somebody has, you know, you can just smell that person is near you or something about it. Anybody else have a story they'd like to share about something that's happened to them in a time warp? Or, yes, Roger. Want to come up, Roger? Okay, go ahead.
Just real quickly, I got a long list, but first time I really noticed it, I was about 14 years old. And my father, we had went to Honduras to help build a hospital. But anyway, so there was some touring going on, mixing business with pleasure. And I was sitting on the edge on this wall with a guy named, about my age at the time, named Dwight. And I knew everywhere we went, I had seen it in a dream.
You had seen it in a dream, every place that you went,
And
beforehand.
Yeah, and when I had the dream, it seemed insignificant.
Right.
But it was so clear. I could almost tell you the next street.
Wow,
Nice.
wow. And we've heard of children, you know, that have, you know, like missing a sibling or missing, and then found out that they lived, you know, so many years, they've gone to visit where they were from. You know, I think of Arlene Dyer, Wayne Dyer's wife, when she had her first baby. She said she was, you know, in so much pain, and this beautiful redheaded nurse came into her and said, you know, there's a place inside of you where you can go to get still, and you can, you know, transform this pain. And so she went inside and she had the baby. They were saying like hours it was going to take. She had the baby in 2 hours or something, or really quickly. So she looked for that nurse afterwards. Well, of course, there was no redheaded nurse on the floor. So, you know, we hear all of these stories, and we think they're miracles, but the reality of it is those are the dimensions. You know, what dimension were you in? How many places are we right now, Miles? I mean, really, you know, I think we're all through dreams and these things. Anybody else have something they would like to share with? Nobody's had any experiences? Well, I tell you, I think we're going to be having more experiences in the future. I think that we are really, the energies are so radically shifted. I know with Roger's reading, I feel like people are contacting so many of us from what we call behind the veil right now, too. You know, I was writing, one time I was doing automatic writing, you know, and asking the universe questions and writing back, and all of a sudden, my pen said, this is not your heavenly father, this was your earthly father, and I didn't understand all the things you were doing when you were, you know, when I was here in the physical, but I, you know, keep on doing what you're doing, you know, I'm here supporting you. I mean, my hand was just writing those things. So we are so connected to those veils, and what we want to do is really open us up that we can be connected. Judy, do you want to say something?
My father did the automatic writings, and it wrote through him in a different language, and it was my mother's dead uncle.
Wow, her
But-
mother's
but
dead uncle.
I have to tell you, I could really feel the energy in the spirits the last 2 weeks, and all that crying cleansed me so much
Yes.
that I had a completely psychic week.
Wow,
Oh.
beautiful.
And it was because I came here and I could feel the love and the energy, and it was just was great. It's great.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for, to support each other. Who? Dave, yeah.
Yeah, I was just hearing about a story like that yesterday. There's a YouTube guy named Eric Rains and his wife Sarah, and they would have fights over things that one had said and the other didn't agree. I'd never said that, and they thought maybe that was the reason that they'd gone. And it also reminds me of the case where there's car crashes and things, that somebody will show up and save somebody else, and then they look around and that person's gone, like where'd they go? They go. But I came up to speak to Miles about one thing you said. There's a worker named Cryon, a YouTube guy named Cryon, and he talks about when you want to age less and age slower, and that if you tell the cells of your body 1 day and 3, they won't understand 1 day. They don't know 1 day. They age in terms of a lunar cycle. So maybe 1 lunar and 3 lunar cycles.
Oh, thank you very much.
Nice.
I love crying.
I want lots of lunar cycles. I'm not sticking with one. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share on this? Anything you would like to add to this, Miles?
No, just to answer any questions.
Yeah, any questions for Miles? That's right. Anybody have any questions for him? Yes, Larry.
Yeah, so you touched on something, I think you were actually talking about raising your vibration when you said make a list.
Yeah,
And, so, in all of my experiences, anytime that things really start just unfolding and the magic is really just happening and flowing, whatever you want to call that, anytime that's going on, it's because my vibration is so much higher.
yes.
So, I guess, and I think you alluded to it with the list.
Yes.
So my question is about actually consciously raising your vibration. What
So-
advice would you have on that?
For me, these are two separate things that go in the same direction. Because the point of the list is to actually raise your vibration in your mind about the person that you want to have a different relationship with. Now, we could open it up and probably never stop all day today asking people about how you raise your vibration. How do you do it in the morning? What is your spiritual practices in the morning? And one feeds the other. So if you have a spiritual practice that helps you raise your vibration, it's really helpful to do that before you make your list. You'll find that the list comes far easier when you put yourself in a really good feeling place. But you don't need to. We can always think of a good thing about some other person. It's amazing. Even sometimes the things we think about them that aggravate us are actually strengths in another way. So we can always access things about other people that we want to change our relationship with and make that list, but it goes much better and much easier when you first raise your vibration. And one last point about this. The words mean nothing. It's the feeling. So when you're writing a good thing about another person, the point is to feel it, not to say words mechanically in your mind about them, but to feel how good they are with children, to feel how committed they are to whatever it is that they're doing, how inspired they are by their life, or whatever it might be. And you will know that you're on track when you do that, because when you read it with feeling, the universe has to match that feeling. That's law of attraction. So you'll know that you're in alignment when the universe, you're doing the list and all of a sudden another thing occurs to you and you write that down on your list. I never go back to my list, I go back when I wobble, but if I go back to the list, I always add one more thing every time, at least one more.
And let me just get that straight, that's also the list we make about how amazing we are ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
Yeah.
Didn't you
Oh,
say?
yeah.
Yeah,
make
yeah.
a-
So
our own
when you
awesome-
start, the Amazing Larry list or the Awesome Miles list, and you put those 5 things down each day, then you can pay attention. In fact, I would strongly suggest you have an ongoing dialogue with yourself during the day, because you're going to be amazed that you're awesome all day long. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's the way it is. And then when it comes time tomorrow or tonight and you're going to write down your next 5 things, or sometimes, like Larry, you'll just get in the flow and you'll write down 100 awesome things about yourself and you go, wow, I can take a couple days off. That's actually a bad idea. It's a channel. It's a vibrational channel that you're tuning into. So if you've developed that ability to connect with it and then strengthen it, keep it up. Keep building on it, even though you've had some wild
All right, let me just
successes.
ask you, you say during the day, so tell me a dialogue that you would have with yourself during the day so we can kind of see.
So, for instance, Reba, the angel that she is, went up to help her sister get into an assisted living facility in Indianapolis after her life had turned into a shambles. I mean, complete shambles. And took my breath away. It took so much courage. How are you going to rebuild the finances, and how are you going to get this thing done and that thing done? I could hardly believe it, but she was set on, and I said, I want you to know I'm 100% behind you. So during the day, I would send her little uplifting messages. I would sit down, I would get quiet, I would send the angels, I would fill the room with the angels and have them touch everybody. And I said, Miles, you're awesome.
Aww.
The way you work with your angels. Or when she would talk to me about money, I said, honey, you're taking care of your sister. Money is the last thing you need to worry about. We don't have a lot of money, but we have enough money that you can write a check for $1,200 or a check for, $4,000 or whatever it might be to help your sister during this time of transition, and we'll sort it out later. And then I hung up the phone and said, Miles, you're awesome. And then I said, Miles, do you really have that money? And then I said, well, this is a time for faith.
That's great. That's great. Any more questions? Anybody else have? I think the things that Miles talked about today are really, those are the ways we're going to really step into these things. Kathleen.
Yeah, when he was discussing, I know it's all about us, ourselves, and what we have going on in our own dialogue. So you've got this lovely person standing in front of you, right? And you're going, yeah, you're so lovely. and I know it's a reflection of yourself, and you're going, but how can that be?
Yes!
And I'm just going to be...
This is impossible.
I think I'm one of the most unconditional loving people in the world, yet this
Me
person
too.
is,
Rib and I commiserate with each other. Can't it just be somebody else once? Just once?
Yeah, right?
Or frequently, it's the person you love.
But you're
Can't
really
it be their
fooling
fault
yourself,
once?
right? You're fooling yourself. So
Yes.
the question is, and I'm going to use this particular individual, I don't see myself to be judgmental. I really don't.
Yeah.
I believe in flow, and yet this person the most judgmental.
I think that's a great question because I think we've all experienced that. What is it in that person that is reflecting back to me? I don't see it. Yeah. So how do we deal with that, Miles?
And those are the perfect words, Mary Lou, because we don't see it. So that's when you take some time to be still and be quiet and look for where it is in your life. Now, it's always going to be in your now. That's the given. It's always going to be now. But you can look in the past or about your thoughts about the future or your thoughts about just in general and look for a parallel about where are the situations in your life where you actually feel similar because if you're paying attention to those rumble strips, when you have thoughts that make you feel uncomfortable and you deal with them at the time, all of a sudden your life starts to get really smooth. And you go from one nice experience to another. You're always going to have opportunities for expansion. Sorry. However, you're not going to get blindsided. So when you feel safe, the universe has an opportunity to put this in front of you. Now you get to dig deeper. Because the point is always about healing yourself and making yourself whole. That's the gift. It's about, if I can see this in them, then I can heal myself and make myself whole.
Well, that's profound. I mean, you know, to find that is always a gift. Boy,
Yeah.
to look at it like that it's always a gift.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So if one has a choice, okay, do I hang out with person A that has a whole list of personal shortcomings that they find in me, or do I hang out with person B
Me?
that thinks I'm the most fabulous person on the face of the earth? I mean, yeah, I might learn a lot more from the person that thinks I have all these shortcomings. However,
It feels better.
it feels much better to hang out with the person that thinks I'm the most fabulous person on the face of the earth.
And we know the answer to this, don't we?
Right.
Yeah, it's B. Yeah, it's unequivocally B. It's always B. So, because this is the truth. There is something you can do with your life that's a switch that you flip. That doesn't, now you will still encounter experiences of expansion once you flip this switch, but it's a completely different world. And the switch is excitement. Are you following your excitement? Are you doing what makes your heart sing? Because if you are, then when you encounter bumps in the road, it's like it's on the way to something that makes your heart sing. That's the way to do it. Not to start dwelling on problems with other people or problems in the past. Every path works. There's no wrong path. Every path takes you to where you need to go. Why not take the path that makes your heart sing? Why not take the path that where you follow your excitement? And you're going to encounter things that help you and support you, expand you, and heal you on that path as well, but it's going to be a lot more fun.
Boy, I love that. That's great. Diane.
Hi, I just wanted to reemphasize that, because I'm a science of the mind practitioner, and you taught a lot of science of the mind today, which is you're 100% responsible for everything that's in your life. And an easy way to tell, I'm going to bring this down to a real simple point, the easy way to tell what your belief system is if you believe that you already have it. So if you don't have it, that's your yardstick. Like, I want to use Pam and Mark as an example. They obviously believe in having a beautiful relationship. It's obvious. There are no secrets in the universe. There are no secrets. Everybody's consciousness is showing.
Right.
So if you don't have prosperity, that means you don't believe you deserve it. Everything is at the feeling deserving level, and if you don't feel it, then you can. This is the longest path in the world, from the brain to the heart. And to get it to the heart, you have to feel it. And if you don't have the body you want, you feel you don't deserve it, or else you'd be at the gym or eating organic foods. If you don't feel safe, you don't feel you deserve it. So everything is your belief system, and to get it into the feeling level is the key. Otherwise, and then things will start to happen. It has to start right here at the belief level.
Wow, that's so
Beautiful,
good.
Diane.
It's been scientifically proven. This is
Come on.
okay. It's been proven that scientifically, they say that when you see somebody, the brain automatically makes a snap judgment of a person. That's the truth. That's scientific. Okay. So that's, you don't want to do it or something, you're trying not to, but you really have to put into practice to live from the heart, to live from spirit, to be able to look at somebody and not let the mind take over and make a snap judgment about somebody. So, that's why we do. We do. It's been proven.
Reminds me of Reba when she was doing the judgment. Remember, she was
Oh,
working
yeah.
on that judgment all the time, and we think we don't judge.
You
But
do.
but we do, but we're really learning. Anybody else have any questions or anything they'd like to add?
Well, let me just respond to what Pam was saying, because it was, so a technique that has worked wonderfully for me is to take a breath and look into that person's eyes and just be quiet. Just connect with them at the eye level. And that sort of takes you out of whatever your story was or whatever your initial reaction was. It gives you a chance to connect with them, because where's the soul? In the eyes. So it gives you a chance to connect.
I just want to say a technique I use very similar is to look at somebody and open my heart. And see myself listening from the heart, not listening from these two ears, but just seeing myself listen from a deeper level. Everybody wants to be listened to.
Yeah,
Roger.
Miles and yourself just described how to do a reading.
Well, now you can all be readers.
That's how simple it is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Roger. I had no idea. I really appreciate that.
Anybody else have any questions or anything else? Yes. Yes, sure.
What if, what if, you're around a toxic person and you decide to, not talk to that person, and because you wanna, because they're toxic for you, how do you, move on to get your heart back to where it feels warm again?
Oh, okay. Well, number one, you have to take care of yourself. So that's the starting point. And have a conversation with yourself. What is the most loving thing I can do for myself? And then you want to make sure, if you can, that you get yourself in a safe place. And then after you've taken care of yourself and got yourself in a safe place, then you can start to think about, what is the message? So this person is a symbol. So you can easily find what the symbol is. Just ask yourself, what do they mean to me symbolically? It's a feeling. And write it down. And then that's the starting point. What is this feeling telling me? And that'll tell you why they're showing up that way. And eventually, if you keep going, eventually you're going to find the place inside yourself that this is reflecting. And then the reason that it gets worse and worse is because it's more and more important. And it's important to heal yourself. As Diane eloquently said, it's always going to be about how you're thinking and feeling. I'm lost here a little bit, but so we think they're real. We think that people are real. Now, they are real, and we're supposed to get the feelings. That's the whole point of this reality, to experience the feelings. But really what they are is a symbol. They're a message to us so that we can understand ourselves and heal ourselves.
I just have an example of that. I just want to say an example of that. I was in a yoga class, and there was a fella, when we did Shavasana at the end of the class, he would go right to sleep and start snoring. He would aggravate me. When he would come into the class, I would go to my yoga class. I said, I hope he doesn't come. I don't like that guy, and he snores, he disrupts everybody in the whole yoga class, especially me, and he'd come put his mat right next to mine every time. So I thought, I've got to shift this. So I just started thinking about the nice things I would listen to how he would interact with other people, and I would start shifting how I felt about him. And, you know, and I would send him light and love and all of that. And finally, what happened was, after I could really love him, I started talking to him, I really started to love him. His snoring didn't even bother me anymore. He left the class. So, you know, once we get the lesson, they leave the building. So, anyway.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I was gonna say basically what
Oh.
she said, but not about the yoga.
You know,
Because we talked last week so much about the light.
Yeah.
Send in that person light, send in them blessings,
Right.
prayer.
do we have time for Paul and Kathy to share, Sandy?
I just have
yeah,
one little thing to say, and it's just, when you change the way you look at things, things you look at change.
Absolutely.
Oh,
You-
So
that's
just-
simple.
Yeah, just,
You condensed it for us all. See? That's so true.
Thanks, Sandy.
I'd like to,
Just a short comment, yeah, because. So
I
just wanted to
wondering
address-
what the lesson is
Wait,
when
wait,
you,
Judy,
you
just
know,
let him
but
go.
yeah.
I just wanted to address your question because I can totally relate to it. And for me, in my experience, there's two things to do simultaneously. The first one is to look at what you will no longer accept from the universe. And write them down, okay? And the universe will test you. It will give you that thing again, and you need to then take action that shows the universe you're serious about not accepting it. Be whatever it is, you know, walking out the door, telling the other person to get out of your house, whatever it is. Whatever you have to do to make it clear to the universe, this is something I no longer accept in my life. Period, end of discussion. Right? The second thing to do simultaneously is, what do you want? Think about what you want. Spend more time thinking about what you want and less time thinking about what you don't want.
Right.
If you can get to the point where you never think about what you don't want,
Manifest.
then you manifest. Then you'll be Miles and up there on the stage. But think about and create and vividly imagine, daydream about that which you want.
Nance.
I don't think I need a microphone, but I've had a recent experience, and I always have to examine these things and try to grow from them. And as a result, I had a dream. You talked about the toxic person. And the dream told me that that toxic person is coming at me from the pain within them that they don't know how to heal.
Yes.
And I can't let it bring up the pain within me and get involved in it. I have to keep myself in a higher place. And even though I can't get near this toxic person at the moment, I can constantly remind myself when the subject comes up of all the good they have in them.
Beautiful.
And send them love.
Beautiful, Nance.
And you can use Sandy to do remote Reiki,
Yeah.
because that works too.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's it, because we are at noon, but I think we got, thank you so much, Miles. Boy, I got a lot
Yes,
out of
thank
that today. You know, things that can really help us sin. So we are going to eat at where the old Winn-Dixie is. It's about a mile down. There's a new Winn-Dixie, and then the next shopping center is an old one, and there's called